Hi everyone, this is Josie Parwood, and today is a very magnificent start of the website Agitprop, which is a project that I've been working on for some time now. Agitprop started as a result of wanting to put my ideas in a medium that you guys knew me for, and it grew into something completely organic. It was something that I felt needed to be done. It was a website that I felt that would be the start of a publication and the start of an LGBT run media that would give everyone a voice that needed it. And I really wanted to begin this series with a collection of interviews on some of the people that have really inspired me. Some stories I think would be very interesting, and I hope you guys enjoy. On the podcast today, we actually have the incomparable child prodigy and wonderful musician, Harries. We're going to be discussing a little bit about her story, how she came to be a British, eccentric, wonderful character that we all know and love, how she became the new queen of memes, but then also a little bit more about the transphobia she faced through her work in the public eye. There's been a lot of incidents that have happened through her life, which I think are very prevalent in this climate. I think that there has been a few things that have gone under the radar, and I hope you guys enjoy our wonderful conversation today. So, Lauren, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. You've had quite an extraordinary life. You started off on the Eleanor Jones show as a child prodigy and then went on to Terry Wogan. So how old were you when it all began?
I was about 9. Well, I was being bullied in school, so it was better than being in school, and it was something I was talked about, something I enjoyed.
So you went on to Oprah and Joan Rivers?
Joan Rivers, I went to, yes, just to name a few, but obviously did so many shows as a child, you forget.
Yes.
So I did Oprah as James and then as Lauren as well.
She did a wonderful video on YouTube and included your first song.
Yes, that's right.
I wanted to talk a little bit about your transition and when you went through that kind of in the public eye, because a lot of the stuff I've been talking about within my podcast is about the LGBT community and fair representation. So do you mind us going into a little bit of that?
Yes, of course. I'm very, there's nothing I can't answer.
Okay, perfect. So one of the hardest processes we go through in the trans community is the process of gender reassignment, not just because it's so costly, but because it takes such a long time to do. There's a lot of hurdles to overcome. What was your story that actually took you to seek out the medical help? Because I understood you went private, didn't you?
The only reason I went public was for the money.
Right.
Get money from Max Clifford. I did go privately, but I first of all went to see my GP. Mm-hmm. And I know there were April Ashley, and there's been a lot of beautiful transgendered women in the 60s, but they weren't, well, they're not, people wouldn't know who they are, you know, if I say that now. But when I went to my doctor, he said, you've got to wait 5 years, and you don't feel that way. You feel like you want it now. So it was a terrible time for me. I didn't have my ex-boyfriend said to me, did you ever have an erection as a child? You know, it's James. I never did. So that was unusual. And they said 5 years, you're not going to be able to, you're going to have to wait 5 years. So then it was time, I just couldn't live my life anymore. So I had my first suicide attempt.
Oh, it's such a difficult.
A long time ago.
Yeah,
a long time ago.
A lot of the doctors, I think, are starting to edge away from looking into a lot of the research behind this, because I think for a lot of trans women and people in the umbrella, I think there's more likelihood that a lot of people are in the intersex category because they just don't have the same chromosomal standards. They might have Klinefelter or no testosterone and things like that, and it's never really spoken about when I see these interviews on TV, which is kind of sad. And even speaking to GPs, they don't often know a lot of their...
They don't know enough.
Yeah.
I want to get a book out there so that there is information for people.
It would be awesome to do that. It would definitely be awesome.
Yes.
So when you were going through the process of working with Max Clifford, because you really were one of the first pioneers to be on TV and openly discuss this stuff. I know when I was younger, I saw you and you were definitely the first person I saw that I could identify with in that regard. But what do you think the hardest part about going public was? Did you receive a lot of scrutiny when you first started to discuss this?
Yes, well, I thought I found my Superman. but it didn't quite work out that way. When I went public, it was complete transphobia. As soon as I went public, it was, we had bricks through the windows. We had people shouting out that I couldn't leave the house. I was a recluse for, as well as going out and getting through my transition. I was basically, terrified to do anything. So I had bodyguards and I was protected. And that's one of the reasons why I'm starting to live my life now rather than earlier on, because there's so much. It was only, I had transphobia, which I invented that name before it even came out, transphobia. I had so many people shouting. I had to go up, we have an attic, so I had to go up into the attic and stay there until it finished. This went on for about 8 years. Every single day. It's
kind of like scary, isn't it? All the stuff that you've been through. This was in Cardiff?
Yes.
Right. And one of your first interviews was on This Morning, wasn't it? How did you think that they approached the topic of talking about transition? Because they did a kind of like a makeover, didn't they?
They did. They did a show before surgery and then a show after surgery. But Judy did say it's a publicity stunt. So it was like, no, it's not Judy, this is real. Yes, I did before surgery and then after surgery, and I was filming a documentary as well at the time.
Okay.
It was reporters would come with plant pots and pretend to be, and I was on morphine, I didn't even know what I was saying. But yes, I went on Richard Judy, and they were very nice. And considering, they were, I think, because they were mature themselves, They did the interview very well, and Richard was very nice to me, and he flattered me on my perfume, wet linen, Estee Lauder. And women, and when you're going through a transitional period like that, any compliment is so important.
Absolutely, because it's as much mental as it is physical.
Oh, it is mental, and then you deal with the physical. It's all about mental, but it is the physical as well, because you want to look in the mirror and like the body that you look at.
Absolutely. Talking of This Morning, I think for me, one of the most iconic interviews was when you were with Holly and Philip. You were there with the doctor and you were discussing transition. You got a temporary ban. What happened there?
Well, first of all, I hadn't been on television for a bit, I know. And also, I always intended to be there for transgender queer people. And I felt that the man I was with, the doctor, didn't know what he was talking about. And also, I know that This Morning is on every day. So I didn't want it to be a show that would be forgotten.
Yeah.
So I made sure it wasn't.
Yes.
That's why I did it.
Well, that makes total sense. And I think it's funny because the media have got it so kind of misconstrued, I think. And I think that only the exposure that they put on This Morning seems to be at the moment, you can only be on there if you're transgender, if you're having a debate with someone. And it's like, well, why can't trans people just be in the job because they're talented enough to do a segment? Why does it have to be because they're trans, they're on it?
Why aren't there enough transgender people on television anyway?
Exactly.
Why is it all straight people or so-called normal people when there isn't such a thing anyway? They're not. The gay community, there'll always be homophobia. My brother's gay. There'll always be homophobia, but there is more transphobia now. There's still transphobia and in the industry as well, and that has to stop. There has to be because I don't even like the word trans. I like the word woman, because after surgery and after all the pain you go through with the with the surgery, and it takes so much pain and mental. You deserve to be called the woman that you are, and to be honest with you, men that I'm with don't even know that I am transgender.
Yeah.
So and it's up to me to tell them or not.
And there's so much nuance in the trans community today. I think trans has kind of become it, instead of focusing on the difference between like transgender and drag, which I think was the conversation in the 2000s. It's become like now trans is almost like an all-inclusive, because there's a lot of women that don't want to get the full surgery now, and there are some people. It's all people are people, but we all kind of go through the same kind of transphobia at times, if you know what I mean. And it's interesting to see that there still is not enough representation on TV that shows people as real people. And instead it's the focus on either the surgery they've had done or the controversy around them. It's never just, oh, look, there's a wonderful person. They just happen to be what they are, which is sad.
Well, that's show business. Unfortunately, they have to have a negative perspective on those things.
Yes, it's very sad. I wanted to touch base on the documentary that was produced about your life by Keith Allen, and I understand if you didn't want to talk about it too much.
No, there's nothing I can't talk about.
Okay. I remember seeing it when I was younger, and I remember even then, before we had this big conversation in the media, that it kind of came across incredibly smearing, and I didn't think that... what I actually did is I went out to find the DVD, and I wanted to watch the DVD as an adult. It's just horrifically shocking, really, to look at all the ways they edited it, to the wacky kind of Dracula music they put on, the like offensive characterizations of trans people they put in, the ad break kind of like the segues, everything that it was kind of they froze the freeze frame.
It was what you call a. They were trying to do. I've forgotten the word now. They were trying to do They were trying to misconstrue who I was and make out that my family controlled me, and I was crazy, really. But they were just trying to. I'll figure out the words further on into the conversation.
Can you imagine that documentary being shown today? I mean, the uproar
but they wouldn't put that on now.
It was such an irresponsible thing, I think, to put that on television, because it didn't just affect the characterization of you as a public figure, but it went through your whole entire family, and the impact that could have on people's credibility in the workplace, or on people's just character, like your brothers and things like that are the same age as you. It's quite shocking, and it was strange to watch it kind of like now I'm older, because you saw all of the kind of intention behind it was to make you look a certain way that wasn't fair, and even the deleted scenes that weren't on the TV show were just set up to look as crazy as possible, and it was just so awful.
It was an expose.
Yeah.
That's what it was, an expose, but they couldn't get us. They tried, but they couldn't get us, and it was an expose, a deliberate expose with Keith Allen, who I don't mind mentioning, who has many, many problems himself. He wanted to expose my family just mad, insane. Although they were just playing us with brandy. I hadn't been on television for a very long time. This was the 90s. And I didn't know it was an expose. I was fat on the show. I look much better now.
Oh, no, you look lovely on the show.
Oh, I didn't, honestly, I didn't, but thank you very much. But I know, and Keith Allen, he wanted to do an expose. He wanted to be, it was the 90s. This was when the 80s was fun, and the 90s were starting, and the 90s were starting to do negative television. This was Little Lady Fauntleroy was certainly, they were trying to make out that expose me for the weird, unbalanced, transgender, woman that I was. But they even had it in the contract. I found out later I couldn't go on a show to talk about it or explain about it or anything. We were wrapped up in circles basically, and we couldn't get out. And they plied us with alcohol, and it was an expose, and it was very, 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 very bad for the transgender community, and not good for people's state of mind. And I was the only person who had the courage to watch it, and but I still went outside, and I thought, well, who gives a crap? There's no, they say in this business, there's no publicity, there's no such thing as bad publicity in some ways.
In some ways.
I just feel sorry for my family, and I'm very proud of my brother Patrick at the end, who stood up and stood his ground. But I think we all stood our ground as much as we could, and he couldn't get us on anything.
So there was a deleted scene which I'm always curious to find out, because on the DVD version, because I think a lot of people still, even with the extreme versions of transphobia, people always try and overly sexualize trans women and make them into kind of like a parody or pornographic. And in the deleted scenes, there was kind of like a conversation that I think was filmed with you and Keith, where I think you said that he'd sent you some sort of provocative text messages.
Yeah.
So what do you think he was setting you up to say something sexual to then show on the show that you were this insect? Because there was like
everything. They tried everything, but I was very young, and to be honest with you, it's not about sex; it's about gender.
Yeah.
So I think people get that mixed up.
They do,
and I think that they certainly got mixed up in that documentary.
Absolutely. There needs to be, in my opinion, some accountability from the network and people involved with that documentary, because it could have impacted you in such a traumatizing way. And I do understand that there was a situation that happened that I think was after this, where you were unfortunately very violently assaulted outside your home.
Yes, and that's just one, but I'll talk about the second one. Yes, I was cooking in the kitchen, I saw my father said he heard a noise, and he's very protective of his car. Mm-hmm. And he went out to see what was happened, and I saw my father I saw him on the floor, and my first reaction was to run out. You don't think clearly, you just think your loved one is on the floor, a big man of 6'8" with my brother on the floor. So, as small as I was, I ran out to help him. And then I was sexually assaulted. And also, I was hit across my face with my own shoe 28 times. And I ended up having to have a lump removed from my brain.
Good God, it's horrific.
They were on drugs. They tried to break into the house at first, but I was left unconscious in the hall, in the lobby outside the house. They thought I was in the house upstairs. They didn't even know I was outside.
When did this take place? Was this after the documentary was out?
It was after, many years after, yes.
It's just, I think that it's such a kind of like a timeline where the media was incredibly irresponsible. One of the reasons why I wanted to start this podcast is because when I look at the LGBT media, I don't see enough of a communal kind of like, oh wow, something went wrong here with one of our leaders in some regards. Like, you were a pioneer, you were the first transgender presenter on This Morning, you were definitely a figure in most people's lives for the last 30 years. And we, as much as it's fun to talk about reality TV stuff that's been going on, there has been a serious kind of timeline of events that we need to really address to stop this happening again. It would be so easy for someone to produce a documentary and put it on YouTube today without any regulations and things, and a result of that could be violence towards a young trans person. A lot of people they're a bit scared, I think, to touch base with this. They don't want to say the wrong thing, but hopefully this will be a nice...
If you don't discuss it, how people are going to learn.
Absolutely. If you had advice for people in this generation that were going through the transition or questioning their gender identity and wanting to proceed with maybe sexual reassignment surgery or just experiment with their gender expression, what advice would you give them?
Well, I would advise them to dress as a woman. Less is more. So
okay.
Always wear less is more with clothes. Don't dress up too much. Dress less, dress down. You can look good in a jumper or a man's shirt. You can look sexier in clothes, even man's clothes, ironically, than women's clothes sometimes. So, my advice is to dress down. Don't think, I'm going to wear all the colours of the rainbow because I've waited so long to do this. It takes time. Work on your figure. But also, my most important advice is because I was a virgin up until my surgery.
Okay.
And then I'm going to put this all out on the table because it is my life and it's sad, but it's the past anyway. And I was in Putney because I did a lot of shows talking about transgender and my transition and everything. And I was in Putney with two people, married couple, and I had a few drinks and I was on the radio and they paid me to stay in the travel lodge. So they said, well, we'll take you home to your house, to your place. And I was only 23.
Okay.
And he was a very attractive man, and but he was just going to drop me home, and he was married as well, and I was raped, and this was about a month after the surgery, and it just wrecked everything. So I went in the bath, as you do, as soon as it happened. And I was terrified, and I ruined my surgery. And I knew that I was sick, and I knew that I needed to have And it took me 5 more years to have a lump removed from my vagina because of what happened.
Did you report the incident?
No, but something happened not long ago, but you can't, which I've reported.
Yeah.
And I blame myself again for it. But after speaking to counsellors and knowing that I wasn't in my right mind at the time, I don't blame myself. But it takes a long time for you to feel that way, because it's the first thing you think, well, did I say the wrong thing? Did I turn him on too much? Or was it my fault? It's the first thing that you think of.
Well,
but obviously you should never blame yourself. It should be consented between both of you.
Yeah.
So don't rush into sex at all. Wait until your body is fully healed, and then you keep using the dilators, and enjoy it, because you're making yourself a beautiful body, and you're anatomically a woman in every way. And one day we will progress, and one day, they are working on transgender women even having children.
Yeah.
So by having a womb and then an eggplant inside, so it's all possible. Mark the space.
Absolutely, they're making follicles out of bone marrow at the moment, which is
exactly. Although I would adopt, because of the terrible things that are happening in Turkey with Erdogan. With the dictator, and basically, killing babies and seeing babies on the shore and stuff. So I would definitely adopt, and because that is somebody who needs your help living on this world. So yes, I would definitely adopt, but sometime in many, many years to come.
Absolutely, you'd make a cool mum.
I would be a wonderful mother, but that would be most of my life. That would be my life, though.
Yes.
You see,
yes.
That is who I am. I would need a partner. Mm-hmm. I know there are a lot of single mothers around, but I was brought up with 2 people as parents. It's hard being on your own. It's hard being a single mother, and it's a big responsibility. But I'm not saying that there aren't amazing single mothers out there, because I'm sure there are. But it's just hard, and I think it's just easier to have 2 parents instead of one for the child and for the parent.
Yeah, well, talking of mums, you've noted that your mum is a big inspiration to you. She's been my light. She's my best friend. She's the most wonderful person in the world. She is between Sharon, she's like between Bette Davis and Sharon Osbourne, and also she's got a heart of gold. So she's and her family. I blame them for a lot of her nose was broken by her own brother when she was 16 years old, so she had to move out. So she's been through an awful lot herself. But but my mother, my whole family are wonderful people, and they always have been. But they've obviously been very protective, as you can understand. Yeah, for sure. Who else are your kind of like role models? Like, who do you look up to for inspiration?
For inspiration, I look up to people who have the courage to be themselves, the courage to be nice to people, to love people, and not put on airs and graces because they're on TV. Just people who have the time to stop and say, give directions, stop and talk to you. Just be. I think that is love is the answer to this world. And if we all love one another, then we would have a completely different world. And study and read about the mind, because I had 2 suicide attempts, and on the last one, I realised I didn't want to live, but I stayed alive for my family. I couldn't hurt them anymore. But then I started to learn about the mind, metaphysics, which is the study of the mind, and of course the subconscious, 90% of the brain and 10% is your conscious mind. So I started the manifestations, I started reading all the books before The Secret even came out, and that helped me an awful lot.
They're very interesting, those books, because they're
very interesting. Well, we all cannot say where we come from.
No.
But there is someone around. They do know where we come from. They just don't want us to know.
And there was a lady that was behind the secret who channels someone called Abraham Hicks or something, and she actually goes into like a trance.
It's all been copied. All these books have been copied from many, many, many other books. It's all copied.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by all the channeling things, that Seth materials.
I've been studying metaphysics now for 20 years.
Wow. What would your best practices, apart from being kind to people, be? Like, is there any kind of books you would recommend people to read if they wanted to look into this a little bit more?
You mean the study of the mind?
Yes.
Yes. Let me think. Joseph Murphy is a good one.
Okay.
Yes, I think it's called The Power of the Subconscious Mind. Just look up Joseph Murphy. And go online as well now. There's everything on there now, but there wasn't at the time. Joseph Murphy. Try and get the old books, the Tibetan books. They're very good. Before the war, before they destroyed everything. The best book I read, which was rubbish, apart from two words, was I Am. And I Am is a very, very, very powerful 2 words. And you just chant that every day. And you do yourself a visualization board, of course, but you just get a piece of paper and you just put stuff on it, and you look at it, and you put it away, and I look at it and I think, well, actually, that's happened. All those things in one way or the other has happened in its own way.
Yeah.
So anything you want, a holiday, a car, a husband, a boyfriend, a wedding, it will happen in one way or the other.
Absolutely, I believe that completely. Speak things into existence.
You do, and you have to believe you're wealthy to be wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
You can't live in a box, because unfortunately they will leave you in the box until you retire, and then they try and keep you in a box with no key to get out of it. Unfortunately, they don't want us to think. The government don't want us to think, they just want us to work so hard that we have no time to explore these things.
Absolutely.
And obviously, I'm a painter as well, so I do that as well. And I gave up my career before I went into the Big Brother house, and I studied drama and art for 3 years.
Okay, that's cool. So, in the Big Brother house, did you find that experience was a bit insane? Because I can't even imagine not even being able to talk to my mum or my sister or eat food that I wanted to have. Like, what was the hardest part about that?
Well, I'd done a few shows before that, you see. I'd done Working 9 to 5, which was a different job every day. I
saw some clips of that when I was doing my little pre-interview research. You should get the producer to pop that on YouTube as a series.
Yes, Pink Lemon Media, yes. And then I did another show then called Trust and I'm a Beauty Therapy.
Yeah.
Which was completely transphobic.
Oh God, what happened?
I drank a glass of wine, and they threw all my clothes. Michelle Marsh, who we worked for this morning, and there's another Michelle Marsh who's a topless model, and she threw all my clothes out the window.
Why?
All of them, because I had a glass of wine.
Oh my God.
So, but this wasn't filmed. This should have been filmed. But Danny Foster, he was very supportive, very attractive as well, and he helped me through that. But that was just before I had the brain surgery, and 2 weeks later I went straight back to work.
Wow, okay. Well, quite a ride. One of the things that I think a lot of people don't realise is there is a very popular show on YouTube that's by World of Wonder, and it's called Ring My Bell, where the drag queens and the trans people...
Oh, I've done that, yeah.
Yes, and they posted a throwback clip of you and Rupaul. You were a very young child, and you were actually answering calls on a show, and it was the inspiration behind that. Do you remember doing that with Rupaul?
I remember that show, yes, because I had so many pervy people on the phone. I had to put the phone down, bang, because there were so many perverts on there.
Oh my God.
This was about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. And how old were you on that?
On the booth, and Michelle Visage was on there. Obviously looked divine.
Yeah.
But the suits, I'm afraid, they're just obscene. The suit. He needs to wear Austin Reed and then polo neck jumpers. I need to tell him how to dress, because those suits, I mean, they would give you a nightmare. Well, I think Rupaul is fantastic.
Yes.
I just think that the clothes, the suits he wears are just too much.
Yes. They're not your style.
The dresses are amazing, but the suits as a man are too much.
Absolutely. They could be a lot, rather.
They could be a lot toned down.
Yes.
I mean, basically, they give you a migraine. I mean, if they're basically... I mean, I would burn them if I was him and start again.
I wonder if there's like some secret messages hidden in the patterns, like those optical illusions where you go cross-eyed and you can see like secret messages. Who knows?
Well, those suits, and I dump them all, burn them, and start again.
Burn them all.
Because they make you feel, they give you, if you've got a headache, you get an even bigger headache by watching those suits. I love him in drag, but anything else, I mean, what's this Scottish thing going on?
Oh, I have no idea.
Do you think he's half Scottish or something?
I'm not sure. I think World of Wonder, the people behind Drag Race, actually produced that documentary on Pete Burns, the Unspun show and you work with Pete Burns.
I have worked with Pete Burns, yeah, I sang with Pete Burns, and I worked with him on Big Brother's Big on the side, yeah.
He is amazing. He's one of my favourite people.
Well, the ironic thing is, when I was in London, of all the bars in all the world, I was in London, and as I said, Salam, but I went in and Pete Burns was on Spin Me Round, and of all the songs in all the world, and I thought, you're with me, and we sang together, and it was, you spin, you right round, baby, right round, you go la la. And he couldn't get through the plastic, and obviously he always wanted to be westward. And he'd say, I'm going to Epping Park now, boys, and he'd go down the stairs, and everything we was live, and I learned a lot with him because everything with Pete was one line of, she looks like she's a walking condom. And it was very funny. But he wouldn't put up with nobody messed with Pete.
No.
And that's why I liked him. Why aren't you in the Happy House now? I'm not Pete, but we still have a fashion shoot to do.
What was your favourite memory working together?
It was singing, I think, with him.
Oh.
He sang Spin Me Round, and of course, he couldn't get through the plastic, so he was kicking it right through with his heels on, but he still couldn't get through, and thank goodness I knew all the words, so this was live.
Okay.
And my voice wasn't very good then, because it needed work.
Okay.
He kicked it his way through, and he tried to, and he certainly made his impact, but I had to keep it going, and it was puppy day, and I was in a red bath with suspenders and stockings on, and then there was these naked old men walking around us while we sang. So it was certainly a lark, and it was certainly an amazing idea of James Skinner, who I'll always be very thankful for, who worked with Celebrity Big Brother,
okay,
and who got us to do that together. And of course, I did the fashion shoot with him for quite a while, and then obviously his sad demise. But I think he's in a happier place now, telling everybody where to wrap off and telling them what to wear.
I think World of Wonder should do a documentary on you. I think that would be such a vindication, because they did do a great job with the one they did with Pete Burns, and it would be awesome to do like a Lauren Harries The Real Person Today instead of the awful Keith Allen one.
There are so many stories that people don't know,
Yeah.
And there is a lot of misconception on who I am still. And basically I wear my heart on my sleeve. I can't care what people say about me, because that's the first thing you must do when you're in the media, especially in show business. You can't care what people say about you. You have to you've got to just ignore the comments and just move on. But be true to yourself. I mean, I did your video recently, I deleted it. But you have to be true to yourself. And if you make mistakes, you learn by them.
Yeah, and don't take yourself too seriously.
No, don't take yourself too seriously. Live each day as it comes. Always. And if somebody is really annoying you, then tell them. Tell them. Don't keep it in. It's better out than in, as I would say.
Fantastic. Well, you have become the queen of memes on social media, and all your fans are creating their own fan art with you, which is very funny.
It is very funny, and I will be putting much more of their art on, but at the moment there's a video coming out every day on Instagram.
Okay.
And there is going to be a fashion shoot out tomorrow. I'm doing, and also there'll be a video. I'll be doing videos every day while I'm here. Proper Lady Gaga clothes.
Fabulous.
Couture. there'll be the proper photographs and everything for Instagram. And also there's a TV show I'm doing as well, which I can't talk about at the moment. But it will be a complete transgender revolution. It's going to open people's eyes in so many ways that I'm very proud to be saying I'm doing the program.
Oh, exciting. How can people find you? What is your Instagram handle? Is it just at Lauren Harries?
My Instagram is Lauren Harries Official.
Okay. Do you use Twitter?
And you can follow me and I'll follow you back. And any advice you want about pre-op, about transitioning, anything. I'm the ambassador of the transgender community. I've lived for 41 years. I've lived as a woman since I was, I've always been a woman, but I didn't figure it out till I was 18. Mm-hmm. But, I know it all, get it all, but I'm still living my life and I'm still learning because I've been cosseted, looked after, because I've been heard so much.
Yeah.
And now it's time for me to have my wings and for me to fly, instead of being looked after, do a show, go home, do a show, go home, and start to have a social life, and have fun, but work and get my career on the ball, which it is.
I think you should do a merchandise line, like a cool T-shirt that all the fans can do.
Yeah, I love fashion.
Yeah.
I'm the queen of fashion.
Yes.
And for all of the transgender community, I'll always say less is more. There's always the simple black dress, like Chanel would say. There's always, and for people transitioning, you'll look much better in something plain than you will something colourful. It is always the way. It takes a long time to know how to dress because of your figure, and your figure is changing. Mm. The hormones they put you on don't always work. Mm-hmm. It took me up to my 40s to get the figure I've got now, but I haven't had any body surgery except the breast implants 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. But I'm a 38 double D, and but I was a 34 double D, but they just get bigger.
Wow.
So I can't get into any dress. My waist gets smaller, my bust gets bigger. So every day I just look more and more like Dolly Parton.
How funny. That's brilliant. So what are you working on other than your music career, which is going fantastically? I hear you're writing a book.
Yes, I'm writing a book. I'm doing a podcast with somebody I'm very friends with, Giles.
Okay.
He's and just to get the word out there, I've got this very national television program I'll be doing in May.
Okay.
And I'm also going to be doing all the clubs, singing in all the clubs in London.
Have you heard of RuPaul's DragCon, the convention that's associated with the show?
No, I haven't, but I know they're doing another RuPaul's Drag Race in Britain.
Yes, they are. So in America, they do a wonderful convention where all the queens and a lot of the trans community come together and they sell their merchandise and do appearances and meet and greets. You should definitely go to LA and do a fun meet and greet with all your American fans.
I would love to go to America. But I would also like to do there is these people I know in Birmingham, and they work for the transgender children. Mm-hmm. They take the spiralactine, and and I would like to give advice and talks to the children.
That would be wonderful.
As well, because that is, to me, is just as important as a TV show, because it is helping people. It is giving children they aspire to be a woman, and they can look at me and think, well, if she can do it, I can do it.
Absolutely. It's always good to give back. All right then, Lauren. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today and everyone. I will put all your details for your social media on the links.
Yes, please. Anybody on Instagram, follow me on Lauren Harries Official. There'll be much more coming out, many more videos and many more videos and photographs, and I'll keep you all updated. And I will be back on television again. So watch this space.
Can't wait to see you. Thank you, Lauren. Take care.
My pleasure. Lots
all right.
of love.
Bye,
Take
honey.
Care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
So that is pretty much our wonderful guest for episode 1, and I really hope you guys have enjoyed and subscribed to this. It's going to be available on Spotify, iTunes, and also on Agitprop. You can find Agitprop through my website, www.josephharwood.com. I will also give some details of Lauren's social media and website, so check all the details in the links below, all the information online, and also find her on Twitter at Lauren Harries, and definitely subscribe to the podcast to see who's going to be next for our interview series. Thank you for watching. We'll see you all in my next episode, and take care.